Hello, Craig Adams here. This is going to be a hiking guide for the Three Fingers Lookout hike that I did in October 13th of 2023 this year. I'm going to go over my experience, give you some advice and tips, things that I wish I knew, hopefully get you out there to have fun and be safe. And thank you for being a YouTube member as well. This Three Fingers Lookout hike I did as an overnight, and it was very unique. I had a wonderful time. Like I mentioned, October 13th, so I had fall colors. Luckily for me, I was the only person on the trail and the only person in the overnight at the lookout. Everything worked out pretty perfectly weather-wise, being alone, having the bike. Everything was really, really good for this trail. This is the All Trails activity that I recorded for day 1 as well as day 2. And the hike is located in Washington, so I flew over to Seattle from home in New York City and rented a car at the airport, an SUV big enough for a mountain bike, because I knew I would be biking for this trail. And I had a friend allow me to crash the night at their house north of Seattle, which was really nice. And I set up a little bed in the guest room. This is so perfect. This is great. Very funny little Airbnb. Thank you, Nicole. Chad. Also sweet. And they cooked me breakfast really, really early the next morning with their dog Wardolf. I can't say that name. And they were actually letting me borrow their mountain bike, which meant I didn't have to rent one, which was amazing. So thank you so much, Nicole and Chad. So yes, the next morning, it was about an hour and a half drive out of the city into nature. I started to have some views of peaks and mountains with the sunrise. There was a little mountain road that led me to this bridge area, which is where I'm saying my hike started. I'm saying this is like the parking lot for the car, trailhead number 1, I guess. So this first day I did 18 miles total, but 10 of that was on a mountain bike. And you don't have to mountain bike the first 10 miles. You could walk it. It starts from here. And then, so I rode my bike all the way up to around this area right here. And this is a very kind of overgrown small road. Like I could picture a car kind of getting through here, definitely an SUV, but it was perfect for biking. Slightly paved, slightly dirt. Really pleasant. And like I said, there was no one up there, so I had the place entirely to myself. Partly because as I was driving in that morning, there was a construction crew doing work, and I got by just as they closed it off. So even if there were other hikers coming to do the same thing that I was going to do, I made it past the blockade. So it was kind of a perfect scenario to be up there by myself. But yeah, the bike, this was the first time that I'd ever rode like a mountain bike for a hike. So like with a pack on my back, it was great. I would never do this hike without doing the biking section. It would be a nightmare to walk this, super boring. I do know that there's like a little turn off here and a steep trail going up to cut off this section. If I was hiking, I would definitely take that. I wouldn't do this section here. But the uphill took a while, but it was really fun. I liked that. And stopped for salt and vinegar pistachio break, of course. And you can kind of see I'm like steaming. I'm sweating so much. But yes, I eventually made it to the actual walking trailhead for me later that morning, and then just found a spot somewhere to stash the bike. Once again, there's no one up there, but I put the bike in a nice quiet little hidden spot and then started hiking. And this was a full day of hiking. I remember at one point getting up towards the saddle area and realizing that it was like 4 o'clock, almost 5 o'clock, and sunset was 5:30. So I was like, okay, I need to push if I want to get up to the top before sunset. And I did, but this is definitely like a full day of hiking because I started driving to the trailhead, before the sun was above the horizon. The trail is pretty overgrown and lush in this first area, but then right here is where the trails link up and you have a really good view of the Three Fingers right here. And it is really cool to be able to like see the little speck of the lookout in the distance. And with each new vantage point, the speck grows a little bigger, but it just seems so like far away and so steep. Unattainable, but it is attainable. Other than the salt and vinegar pistachios, this Noka smoothie packets, the company sent me a few. I've been trying them and they are amazing. You can have them out of the refrigerator. It's very clean, like there's no mess. They're delicious. Some good calories, and it's so nice to have that fresh fruit taste and feeling on trail. Really good. Around this area, you start to pop out of the trees and have more views. And this side right here is one of my favorites. It was really fall colors, really good, like little alpine slope meadow. This saddle up here was a great view of the Three Fingers and a nice little spot you could camp. Like there are spots where you could set up a tent, but I do know that a lot of people camp down here. I think there's even a bathroom for sure. And up here you also get views of this glacier. There's just a ton of snow and ice. For me in October, there was a little dusting of snow up on the top, but the trail was pretty straightforward. There was just always a place, no exposure. If you get to a spot where there's exposure and it's sketchy, you're probably off trail. So double check. But yeah, the switchbacks were good. I was pretty happy with the maintenance of this trail. A lot of people take care of it. There was a snowfield here up at the top, and I did a little bit of back and forth just to get shots. And I do know some people go up and down the snowfield, but I definitely skirted off to the side because it's much easier for me just to jump on the rocks instead. This part right here, as you can see, I did a up and then turned back. There's like this little hill here, and yeah, you'll understand if you're up there. Just don't go anywhere where there's exposure. Just stick to the easy route. And then you reach the ladders. The ladders are intimidating at first, but they're really nothing too crazy. Just go slow and always keep 3 points of contact. Hold on to stuff that doesn't move. It was lovely going at my own speed. I had no one else on the trail. It was very isolating, but very peaceful to finally reach the hut and to open all the shutters. Follow the rules, read the rules, check out all of the stuff that's inside, cook a meal, and just have 360 views of the mountains in the distance and the sunset. And it's really cool to be able to see, what is this? I don't know, the volcanoes like Rainier and St. Helens, maybe Timberline, Mount Hood. The volcanoes really stand out. It's really cool seeing those. The hut had a bunch of blankets and pads that were extra. It had a bed that could fit 2 pads easily, so 2 people up on a nice bed. But on the floor, you could definitely have 3, maybe 4 people. So 6 people in the hut is probably the maximum. You could fit other people, but you might be touching and it might be uncomfortable. So for this trail, you don't know who's up there. You don't know how many people are doing this. So you kind of always want to have a tent just in case. Always have a backup plan. You can't just depend on sleeping in the hut. And for me, in this month, October, it was very cold and windy at night, and it would have been a nightmare to be in a tent. Obviously, it wouldn't be as windy down where the campsite was, but definitely be prepared. And there wasn't much water up there. You would definitely have to hike down a little bit, I think to this section right here, to get some of the snow melt, but that's, changes throughout the season, so you can't depend on that. So make sure you pack up all of the water you need for at the hut, of course. But I had a wonderful time. It was beautiful. Once again, just perfect being by myself and having it all, to my lonesome. The next day was the same thing in reverse. So 17 miles back down to the car with 10 miles of bike. It was very windy at the top, descending, but I quickly made it back down to the meadow and back to the bike. And the ride back down to the car with the bike was so fun. It was, almost always downhill, and I was going pretty fast for some sections. And 10 miles downhill on a mountain bike is pretty exhausting. It's with the hand grips and constantly braking. It's surprising how tired I was just without doing much pedaling, just kind of standing there on the bike as I go down the trail. But I made it back down to the car, put the bike in, drove back to my friend's house, and made sure to clean it up before leaving it with them. And that was that. It was a great hike, and I'm super glad that I did it. Mid-October was a great time to go, but I'd say a week, like maybe October 20th to 30th would be more ideal with the fall colors. Like the colors might be popping more, but then you're also kind of risking it with snowfall or colder temperatures. So it's a little tricky to tell you the best time to go, but I was happy with when I went. I didn't need any spikes or equipment for snow or anything technical like that. And I also made sure to pick a nice weather window. So looking at mountainforecast.com, I knew that there was a good window of clear to partly cloudy skies with little to no chance of rain. And that's why I pulled the trigger to go. So of course, if you have any individual questions that I forgot to mention or didn't think of, you can comment below and I'll try to make sure to answer all of those questions. But once again, thank you for, being a YouTube member and following these trips, and thank you for watching.